All right, everyone, get ready, because we're diving deep into OpenAI's vision for AI in America.
It's a big one.
It is, it is. They've laid out some serious policy proposals, and it's all happening now because in just a few days, their CEO is heading to DC to talk about it.
Yeah, OpenAI is on a mission to make sure AI benefits everyone, tackling those big complex problems,
Yeah.
fair education, even scientific discoveries. And their reach is massive. Over 300 million people are using their tools,
Wow.
including 3 million developers.
That's a huge user base. Okay, so not messing around. Why the urgency, though? Why is it so important to get this right now?
Well, it boils down to global leadership in AI. We're in a race.
Uh,
And OpenAI argues America needs to be in the lead. The stakes are high. We're talking potentially $175 billion in global funding for AI projects.
right.
And if the U.S. doesn't step up, that money could end up backing projects, supported by China,
Right.
which could shift the balance of power significantly.
Okay, that puts things into perspective. So to illustrate their point, OpenAI makes this interesting comparison between like the rise of the automobile and where we are with AI right now.
It's a good analogy. They point to the UK's 1865 Red Flag Act as a cautionary tale.
The Red Flag Act, I'm not familiar.
So imagine this. To control the automobile, the UK actually required a person with a red flag to walk in front of every car,
What?
warning people
Really?
and giving horse-drawn carriages priority. They even limited car speeds to 4 mile apart.
Seriously, they had to walk in front of the car. 4 mile apart. That's slower than I walk.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that didn't exactly make them like the automotive leader.
Not quite. It really stifled innovation and ultimately held them back.
Yeah.
But the U.S., on the other hand, embraced innovation. They
Ah.
fostered a partnership, between the private and public sectors
Right.
to unlock the potential of the automobile.
So OpenAI is arguing that we need to learn from history and choose the right path for AI. What does that look like?
Like with cars, America has a choice to, cling to outdated approaches or embrace AI's potential.
Yeah.
OpenAI says the latter path is key to global leadership,
Got it.
and their strategy focuses on what they call frontier models.
Frontier models, so not your average AI. What makes these models so special?
These are the most advanced large language models out there, Think of them as the cutting edge, capable of things we could only dream of a few years ago.
Right.
And OpenAI believes the way we develop and use these models will determine the future of AI,
Wow.
not just in America, but globally.
Okay, frontier models are the key players here. What are the guiding principles for this strategy? How do they see their role?
Well, their stance is rooted in some core democratic values,
Okay.
Free market competition, freedom for developers and users, with safeguards, of course, and importantly, preventing governments from misusing AI for control.
It's interesting. They're trying to find a balance between like fostering innovation but preventing potential harm. How do those principles turn into action? What do they actually recommend?
Well, they propose this three-pronged approach,
Okay.
focusing on deployment best practices, establishing clear export policies, and implementing smart regulation.
Okay, let's unpack those. Starting with deployment best practices, what are the concerns there?
OpenAI is calling for measures to protect against misuse of these powerful models.
Right.
Think about criminals, terrorists, even state-sponsored actors exploiting AI for bad things. They also want stronger defenses against industrial espionage, recognizing the value of this technology.
That makes sense. I mean, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
How do we address these risks?
They think the U.S. government should establish clear guidelines
Good.
and work with AI companies to develop strong safeguards. It's about minimizing harm while allowing innovation to thrive.
So a collaborative approach.
Right.
The government sets the standards, works with AI builders to meet those standards. Okay, that's deployment. What about export policies?
OpenAI wants to securely share these models with U.S. allies
Okay.
to strengthen their economies, help them build AI capabilities. This also prevents them from relying on technology from nations that maybe don't share our values.
Wouldn't that give those allies like a competitive edge over us? Wouldn't it be better to keep it to ourselves?
Maybe, but OpenAI thinks sharing with allies ultimately strengthens America's position. It's about building a network of like-minded nations
Oh, well,
who are committed to responsible AI development.
so it's strategic, strengthening our allies, creating a united front, and ultimately promoting a version of AI that aligns with our values. What about exporting to countries who might misuse it?
They definitely address that. They want limits on exporting these models to nations that might misuse the tech for things like surveillance, even military applications.
So promoting collaboration and innovation while also protecting against potential threats. It's a tough balance.
Exactly, and that leads to the third pillar of their approach, regulation.
Regulation, always a hot topic.
Yeah.
What's OpenAI's take? More, less, or something else?
They get that regulation is crucial, but they're worried about a patchwork of like state and international regulations
Yeah.
that could hurt American competitiveness. They believe the federal government should lead on national security evaluations rather than having this fragmented system.
So a unified approach,
Huh.
less regulation, more about smarter regulation. What kind of approach are they thinking of?
They want a clear national framework
Okay.
for AI regulation that balances safety and security with innovation.
Yeah.
They even propose a U.S.-led international coalition to work towards shared safety standards.
So it's setting clear guidelines nationally and then working with other countries to establish some global norms for responsible AI. Makes sense. But how do we ensure everyone's on board, especially when it comes to, potential adversaries?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
That requires a deeper look into global politics and the potential risks of this technology.
Welcome back. Last time we were talking about OpenAI's call for a more strategic approach to AI development in America, especially when it comes to those powerful frontier models.
Yeah, they advocate moving away from an anything-goes approach to something more like having rules of the road, as they put it.
Rules of the road. I like that. It makes it sound less like a stuffy policy document and more like a roadmap to a safer, more responsible AI future. But what does that actually look like? What areas do they focus on?
3 crucial areas. They want to establish rules around child safety, ensure we can track the origin of AI-generated content, and give users more control over how their data is used.
Okay, those are some big topics. Let's start with child safety. What are OpenAI's recommendations in that area?
They urge policymakers to prioritize policies that prevent the creation and distribution of AI-generated child sexual abuse material, often referred to as CSAM.
That's a tough topic, but absolutely crucial. AI should never be used to exploit or harm children in any way.
You're right. And they don't just stop at prevention. They want to see protections against CSAM. And a related category called child sexual exploitation material, or CSAM, integrated throughout the entire AI development lifecycle.
So baking those safeguards in from the very beginning, not just tacking them on as an afterthought. But how do you enforce that across an entire industry? It seems like a massive undertaking.
It is. And that's why they're calling for a multi-pronged approach, involving collaboration between AI companies, policymakers, and law enforcement agencies. They also want to see AI companies take steps to prevent developers who build upon their models, what they call downstream developers, from using those models to generate this harmful content.
So it's about taking responsibility for the potential impact of their technology, even after it's been released into the world. Makes sense.
Right. OpenAI sees this as a shared responsibility. They believe everyone involved in the development and use of AI has a role to play in ensuring it's not used for harmful purposes.
Okay, so we've talked about protecting children. What about this idea of content provenance? I've heard that term thrown around a lot lately. What does it mean in the context of AI?
Content provenance is about knowing where something came from. In the AI world, it means being able to tell whether a piece of content, a picture, a video, a text, was made by a person or by an AI. And that's becoming increasingly difficult as AI systems get more sophisticated.
That makes sense. They're already seeing AI create images and videos that are almost indistinguishable from real life. So how do you actually tell where something originated?
OpenAI is calling for clear mechanisms to identify AI-generated content. They suggest something like a digital watermark or label that clearly identifies a piece of content as being created by an AI system.
So a way to mark it, like a tag that says made by AI, that seems like a pretty straightforward solution.
It sounds simple, but it gets complicated quickly. Think about the variety of content AI can create, from text to music to code, and then consider how that content might be shared, edited, and repurposed online. It's a complex challenge.
So it's not just a technological challenge, but an infrastructural one as well. How do we implement a system like this across the entire internet?
That's where collaboration comes in again. OpenAI is advocating for common provenance standards, agreed upon methods for labeling AI-generated content that can be adopted across the industry.
So it's about companies working together, not just going off and doing their own thing.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that stifle innovation? Won't some companies resist giving up control over their technology?
That's a valid concern. But OpenAI believes that establishing these standards will ultimately benefit everyone, including the companies themselves. It's about building trust with users, demonstrating a commitment to transparency, and ultimately creating a more responsible AI ecosystem.
Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. OpenAI seems to be emphasizing collaboration at every turn.
They are, and it makes sense. We're talking about a technology that has the potential to reshape society in profound ways. And OpenAI argues that the best way to ensure those changes are positive is to approach AI development collaboratively, with everyone involved, researchers, companies, governments, even everyday users, working together to ensure it's used responsibly.
That's a powerful vision. It sounds like they're trying to steer us away from a potential AI dystopia and towards a future where AI is a force for good.
Okay, we've talked about child safety and content provenance. What about user preferences? How do they fit into these rules of the road? OpenAI believes users should have more control over how their data is used by AI systems. They advocate for giving users the ability to personalize their AI tools and set clear boundaries on how their information is collected, used, and shared.
That's a big one. Personalization and data privacy are hot topics these days. What kind of specific controls are they talking about?
They suggest things like giving users fine-grained control over the type of content their AI generates. For example, a user could tell their AI writing assistant to be more creative or more formal, depending on their needs.
So tailoring the AI to their individual preferences, that makes sense. But what about those of us who aren't tech savvy? How do we know what settings to choose or even understand how our data is being used?
That's where AI literacy comes in. OpenAI is urging both government and industry to invest in initiatives that educate the public about AI, how it works, its potential benefits and risks, and how to use it safely and responsibly.
AI literacy. That's an interesting concept. It's like we need a whole new curriculum for the 21st century one that prepares everyone to navigate this AI-powered world.
Exactly. And it's not just about technical skills. It's about critical thinking, ethical considerations, and understanding the broader societal implications of AI. It's about empowering everyone to participate in this conversation and shape the future of this technology.
So these rules of the road aren't just about technical specifications or legal frameworks. They're about fostering a culture of responsible AI development and use.
Precisely. It's about changing mindsets, encouraging collaboration, and building a future where AI is a tool that empowers humanity, not one that controls or divides us.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired. But where do we go from here? How do we actually implement these ambitious ideas?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. OpenAI doesn't just lay out a vision. They propose concrete steps for turning that vision into reality. And they don't just stop at the federal level. They believe states have a crucial role to play as well.
States. That's intriguing. What role do they envision for states in shaping the future of AI?
They see states as laboratories of democracy when it comes to AI.
Laboratories of democracy. I love that analogy. What do they mean by that?
They envision states experimenting with different approaches to AI regulation and implementation. They can try out new ideas, see what works best in their specific contexts, and then share those best practices with other states and the federal government.
So states as testing grounds, trying out new approaches and paving the way for broader adoption of successful strategies.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like the states can be pioneers, helping us figure out the best way forward.
Exactly. And OpenAI highlights areas like education and healthcare as particularly ripe for experimentation. They believe states can support startups and smaller AI firms working on solutions in these areas, fostering local AI ecosystems and driving economic growth.
So promoting innovation, creating jobs,
Yeah.
and addressing some of our most pressing social challenges. It's a win-win-win.
You got it. And by sharing their successes and failures, states can help us avoid repeating mistakes and accelerate progress toward a future where AI benefits everyone.
Okay, so we've talked about the rules of the road and the role of states. What other key themes does OpenAI explore in their vision for the future of AI in America? What else is crucial for making this all happen?
They dedicate a significant portion of their blueprint to infrastructure. They argue that infrastructure is destiny when it comes to AI.
Infrastructure as destiny.
Yeah.
That's a powerful statement. What exactly do they mean by that? Okay, so we're back and ready to unpack those infrastructure proposals from OpenAI. They've said that infrastructure is destiny when it comes to AI. What exactly do they mean by that?
They cover a lot of ground, like data access, energy, workforce development. It's a big vision for an AI ecosystem that lasts.
Okay, I'm all ears. So where do we start building this AI-powered future?
One key recommendation is making sure AI can learn from public information, just like people do.
So instead of just using specific data sets, AI could learn from all the information out there, books, articles, websites, the whole thing.
Exactly. Just like we learn by observing, reading, interacting with the world, AI should be able to learn that way too.
But how do we do that and still protect creators? We can't have AI copying everything without permission.
Right, it can't be a free-for-all. We need to balance open access with respecting intellectual property rights.
That sounds really complicated legally and ethically.
It is, and OpenAI knows that. They want a system where AI can learn from public info, but still make sure creators are compensated for their work. It's about helping both AI and the creative community.
Finding that balance is key. So that's public info. What about government data? There's a ton of info there, right?
Absolutely. And they want to make that data more accessible to AI developers. A lot of it is public already, but it's locked in formats AI can't easily use. Old PDFs, even paper files. It's like having a library full of books in a language AI can't read.
So digitize it, make it AI-friendly and searchable. Sounds simple enough. Who pays for it?
OpenAI suggests it could be mutually beneficial. Developers get data, and in return, they help the government find insights from it. Imagine AI helping us understand complex social problems or making public services better.
So it's a partnership, not just a handout. What else do they want?
They propose a compact for AI. It's an agreement between the U.S. and allies to streamline AI investment.
Okay, so a team effort to make sure democratic nations are building a strong AI ecosystem together. What does this compact actually involve?
It's about pooling resources and expertise, making it easier to invest and build the infrastructure for AI, and also agreeing on security standards so that AI is developed responsibly in all those countries.
So a united front on AI development, sharing benefits, minimizing risks. Sounds good, but will all these countries agree on something that big?
Good question. It's hard to get everyone on the same page, especially with new tech and competing national interests. But OpenAI believes that working together is worth it.
Makes you wonder if it could ever include everyone, even beyond our allies. A global agreement for AI.
That's a big question. It touches on global politics and power dynamics. It would be huge if everyone had a shared vision for responsible AI. But for now, OpenAI is focused on working with democratic nations.
Okay, back to their plan. What other infrastructure ideas are there?
They want to create AI economic zones, specific areas with fewer regulations and incentives for AI infrastructure.
So less red tape, easier to build data centers, labs, all that stuff AI needs.
Exactly. They think these zones will bring investment, jobs, and become hubs for AI. Local, state, and federal governments would work together with businesses to make it happen.
It's smart. It's about breaking down those barriers and creating a unified way of building the AI future. But what about the people? We need people who can actually use it. What about workforce development?
They want a nationwide AI education strategy, one that starts in communities and is made in partnership with American companies. The goal: get people ready for the jobs of the future.
That's so important.
Yeah.
Getting people the skills they need for this new world. But it's not just about coding, right?
Yeah.
What else matters?
They say critical thinking, problem solving, creativity. Also, understanding the ethics of AI. It's not just building tech, it's using it responsibly.
AI ethics. That's a whole other conversation. But staying on infrastructure, what about the energy to power all this? AI uses a lot of energy.
It does, and OpenAI knows this. They want big investments in next-generation energy, including things like fusion and advanced fission.
Fusion power, the dream of clean energy. But is that realistic? Can we scale it up in time for all this AI?
It's a gamble, but OpenAI says it's worth it. They believe breakthroughs in fusion and other sustainable energy sources are critical if we want AI to grow without making climate change worse.
Makes sense. You can't build a sustainable future without sustainable energy. So it's about long-term vision, investing in tech that powers both AI and a cleaner planet.
Exactly. And they want to invest in modernizing our power grids and data transmission, too.
Like building the information superhighways that can handle the huge amounts of data AI uses.
Right. They even suggest a national AI infrastructure highway to connect the power grids and data networks across the country so we have the infrastructure to support AI everywhere.
That's thinking big. An infrastructure that not only supports AI, but benefits the whole country. This will cost a lot. Who's paying for it?
That's where things get interesting. OpenAI says the private sector probably can't do it all alone, so they suggest the government provide federal backstops for big AI projects.
Federal backstops.
It's a way for the government to encourage private investment, like providing guarantees or sharing the risk. A partnership to make these projects happen.
So it's not just giving money, it's about creating the right conditions for investment, making it less risky and showing that the government is serious about making America a leader in AI.
Exactly. And the result, the new energy, the computing power, the skilled workforce, it won't just benefit AI, it'll benefit everyone, creating a future where AI does good things.
This has been a lot. We've talked strategy, rules, infrastructure. OpenAI's vision is ambitious and makes you think.
It does. And they say this blueprint isn't set in stone. It'll change as they learn more, and from their talks with the government. This is just the beginning of figuring out how we shape the future of AI.
That's a great point. We're still early in this. We have a lot to learn, so we need to be flexible.
Right. And that's where we all come in. What are our hopes and fears about AI? What role do we want to play in its future? These aren't theoretical questions anymore. They'll affect our lives, our communities, and our world.
It's a call to action for all of us, to stay informed, to be part of the conversation, and to help make sure AI is a force for good in the world. Thanks for joining us as we dug deep into OpenAI's vision for the future of AI in America.
It's been an incredible journey.
It has. And to our listeners, stay curious, stay involved, keep learning about this amazing world of AI. The future's being shaped right now, and we all have a part in it.